Most of you know me sharing tax tips and strategies, but what you might not know is that I'm also the founder and CEO of Tax Alchemy, a tax strategy firm helping clients save hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes. So today, I want to share why I started my company and how we're rewriting the rules of wealth preservation. So without further ado, let's dive in. All right, guys, I have been working in the tax industry for about a decade now. I got my start by working as a salesman at my mother's tax firm. My mother is Karlton Dennis, who is nationally recognized as a tax advisor and personal finance expert. My mother's company sells tax preparation and advanced tax strategy services. And while I was working at this company, I saw the power that tax strategy had to dramatically reduce tax bills when it is done correctly. I was inspired by the results that I saw at my mom's company. I decided to get my own enrolled agent's license so I could also be a licensed tax professional. And I started pursuing this credential to help me become an expert in tax strategy to make more money. While working for my mom's business, I noticed that a large percentage of clients who would come to our office were all there for similar reasons. They had massive tax bills and their former CPAs or tax preparers were just not helping them to lower their tax bills by any significant margin. They were getting crushed by taxes year over year and they were just sick of it. Their CPAs might have helped them apply some basic strategies and file their taxes accurately and max out their 401k, but that never really seemed to move the needle very much. They just had great people that were in their corner. The people who would show up in our office just had a feeling that more could be done to lower their tax bill. They just knew. After all, a lot of them would hear that billionaires and other rich people were paying far less taxes than they were paying. They would come into our office and complain that their CPAs just constantly told them that they couldn't do anything to lower their taxes, and they never seemed to provide actual solutions that worked. I would see how stressed out these people were. Then we would do sophisticated tax planning for them, use a wide variety of powerful tax strategies like real estate investing, oil and gas investing, entity restructuring, income shifting, income timing, and many more to reduce their tax bills. And once they saw the results, they became less stressed out. They became happier, they became grateful, and they became more at peace. These people could now have tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars of extra money per year to play around with, to invest, to spend on their families, to use for travel, vacations, buy houses, you name it. When I saw the impact we were having, I decided to create my own YouTube channel. I created the Karlton Dennis YouTube account because I wanted to help share some of the knowledge that I was using at my mother's tax firm to change more people's lives. The first video I published that really popped off was called How to Pay Yourself as an LLC. Understanding this process was one thing that many of our clients were struggling with, so I figured that this would be a good place to start. That video got 400,000 views within the first 30 days, and I picked up about 35,000 YouTube subscribers. Once I saw this result, I knew that I needed to keep teaching people all of the tax information. The tax code impacts over 150 million taxpayers every single year, yet almost nothing is taught about it online or in schools. Considering the fact that for most people, taxes becomes their single largest lifelong expense, I knew that this was a perfect blue ocean for me to jump into, and I wanted to help provide education in this area. After my YouTube channel started growing, many people started reaching out to me to help with their taxes, and at that point, I decided it would be better to start my own company to provide assistance to all of these new people who exclusively wanted to work with me. Now, before we move on, I gotta remind you guys that my Tax-Free Millionaire Summit is right around the corner. Spots are disappearing quickly. So over these 3 days, I want you to know I'll teach you every cutting edge strategy that I've learned. I'm gonna cut your tax bill by 50 to 100% using real estate strategies, income shifting techniques, entity structuring secrets, and much more. This is your chance to finally take control and start creating lasting tax-free wealth for you and your family. Click the link in the description below to grab a spot. Now back to this video. So I started Tax Alchemy. I founded Tax Alchemy with one main mission: to help people who are serious about lowering their tax bills get the results that they so badly want. Once I built Tax Alchemy, the clients started showing up very quickly. This means I had to start staffing up. I brought on sales, I brought on marketing and tax professionals, as well as other leaders to help me grow the business, including Kyle Baska to serve as president of our company. Kyle was a tax pro and sales expert whom I had previously trained and worked with at my mom's company. We heard the same stories from our new clients at Tax Alchemy the exact same way we heard it at KDA, my mom's company. My tax bill is too large. My CPA told me I already maxed out my deductions. My CPA always says no, no, no to any tax saving ideas that I bring to them. This was the common theme early on when we were growing Tax Alchemy. However, unlike the experiences that my new clients had with their previous tax preparers or CPA, we actually started generating extremely powerful tax savings for our clients. We started saving our clients anywhere between 50 to 80% per tax bill. As the company started to grow, I started to build an army of highly skilled enrolled agents who specialized in advanced tax strategy implementation to work with my clients. And importantly, I also started building a powerful network of partners and collaborators who helped my company do things like finding the real estate deals, running the cost segregation studies, finding the best oil and gas investments with the best tax breaks, Bitcoin miners for my clients to capitalize on bonus depreciation, and so much more. Before I knew it, my company had an incredible amount of momentum, and in just 5 or 6 years, we've helped thousands of people generate hundreds of millions of dollars in collective tax savings. Now, Tax Alchemy is one of the fastest growing tax strategy firms in the entire world. When clients work with us, they're assigned to their own Tax Alchemy advisor who they can communicate with over Slack channel and have dedicated regular phone calls, not once or twice a year, but more like 6 to 8 times a year, because that's how frequent you need to meet with someone in order to get a tax plan done correctly and to implement strategies correctly. So yeah, their Tax Alchemy advisor designs their custom tax plan and helps them implement those strategies. In other words, we hold your hand throughout the entire process, and we make sure that all of the support you need is in order to generate huge tax savings for you. Here at Tax Alchemy, we leverage over 166 tax saving strategies in order to cut tax bills by 50 to 80% per year. And in some cases, yes, taxes are entirely eliminated. Our advisors select the tax strategies that make the most sense for each individual. And they're all unique because every person has a unique situation, a unique circumstances, a unique preference, unique goals that they have in mind. And so it's not a one size fits all. But I also want to make sure you understand that neither is finding the right CPA or tax accountant. There is truly a difference between a tax strategist versus a CPA. I just want to explain something here quickly. I've been talking about CPAs a lot in this video. I'm not hating on CPAs. CPAs help people to prepare and file their tax returns accurately. And this is extremely valuable and one that many people 100% need. Everyone needs a great CPA. What I am saying is that a huge percentage of the people who work with CPAs do not experience powerful tax savings. It's because many CPAs simply care more about accuracy and compliance than they do about, hey, I'm just going to help you save a bunch of money this year. You got to keep this in mind. Many advanced tax strategies require a lot of communication. It requires communication between the client and the professional, back to the professional, back to the client, back to the community. It's a lot of back and forth. So if a CPA is not prepared to communicate like that, or they prefer not to communicate like that, maybe only want to communicate once or twice during the tax season with you, then their clients are going to be optimized for accuracy and for tax preparation. They're not going to be optimized for tax savings and tax mitigation because that requires more communication. In other words, CPAs excel at what they do, preparing accurate returns and keeping you compliant, but most aren't focused on creating tax savings. That's where a tax strategy firm like mine comes in. In fact, for high earners, I typically recommend having both a CPA for precise tax preparation and a tax strategist or enrolled agent to design proactive strategies that are actually going to help reduce your tax bill. At Tax Alchemy, we offer the best of both worlds, combining customized strategies done by expert enrolled agents and tax preparation by seasoned CPAs and professional tax preparers. This is a one-stop shop for many of our clients. Right now, I'm going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to show you what some of the people who have worked with Tax Alchemy have had to say about working with our company. Let's roll the clip.
I kind of had this little thing like, who's this guy on Instagram? And,
yeah.
And so we did your tax-free challenge, and every day I told my receptionist, so block me off, I'm gonna do this every day.
Yeah.
And every day was like my eyes just got wider and wider and wider, and my wife and I sat there and watched like this. How come nobody said this before? So we were coming in, we'd just gotten over a huge tax bill.
Yeah.
That, every year we'd have to pay more and more and more. And I'd ask my accountant, like, why am I paying these money? And she said, well, you make too much. I'm like, well, how do I pay less? She goes, make less. And I was like, that just isn't a good answer. About $100,000 last year.
Woo.
I just had to write that check, which, ow, it hurt,
Yeah.
And then this year, if all goes well, I'll probably be 10 or less,
10 or less.
Yeah, if I'd followed all your rules, I'd probably be down to about $1,800.
Wow.
But since we've been with you, we've actually gone from just one sub-S corp, my dental business.
Yeah.
We now have 4 more LLCs, parent companies, management companies, holding companies. We own 2 large expense properties in Florida. They're successful Airbnbs. They're performing at 95% occupancy.
Wow.
We're in the top 15% of all Airbnbs, and it's been a nice source of tax savings.
Yes.
And it's starting to turn into an income.
Supplemental income.
So we've had to put a lot of money into it just to make it up to our standards like that. But because of that, we have a really nice place. Like just the other day, I was looking at the driveway picture, and there's a Lambo, a Ferrari, and a BMW all sitting in the driveway. And I'm like, that's the clientele I want.
And they're renting out your Airbnb.
Exactly.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And a year before, you had no Airbnbs in Florida.
Nothing. It's so much for me to wrap my head around because for the last 9 months, I'm learning things I've never heard before. And I mean, that's the beautiful thing about being with you. And thank you.
Of course.
Is because you just opened my eyes, my wife's eyes, and I feel like I have something now that I can start teaching my children.
Yes.
Like that, because financial things, tax planning was never ever taught to me. Like that. So for the first time, I feel like I have hope.
I love that.
I decided to join Tax Alchemy after completing the 5-day challenge, and you answered the question that I've been looking for since finishing residency as a physician. What tax strategies do I need to institute to keep more money in my pocket? And I've been working with the same accountant for a while who could not seem to answer that question for me. I would learn about opportunities, and then I would come to him to say, hey, is this a valid tax strategy? And he would say, yes. And I'd say, well, why haven't you told me that? Why am I having to come to you, with ideas on figuring out how to keep more money in my pocket? What I learned from your 5-day challenge is I'm asking the wrong person, or I'm expecting from him what his job is not.
Right.
And his job as a CPA is not to create tax strategy for me. It's an enrolled agent who does that for me. That was the first time I'd ever heard of the concept, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is the answer to the questions I've had since coming out of training. I learned about the Augusta rule, bonus depreciation, and for you to have all of that information in a concentrated way and presenting in a simple way, it was just golden. I'm just super excited to be here. I thank God for stumbling upon your opportunity last summer. We tripled our tax return in working with you all compared to the previous year. Tripled. And so I think that was the convincing point for my husband. I said, honey, if they do what they say they're going to do, I think we should make some adjustments.
Yes.
And we're in the midst of making those adjustments.
I love that. Okay, guys, now that you've gotten a chance to learn more about my company, what we do, and what kind of results that we've been able to generate, I want to let you know that if you're interested in working with Tax Alchemy, you can click on the link below this video to book a call with our team. That's all I got for today's video. I'm glad you got a chance to spend some time with me to learn a little bit more about myself, my business, and how me and my family have been able to grow tax advisory businesses in today's day and age. I look forward to seeing you on a coaching call, or better yet, I look forward to seeing you as a part of a client in Tax Alchemy. Chat soon.